So my name is Annika Beiersdorf and I work for the Environmental Strategy Department of the Hamburg Port Authority. So climate change in Hamburg that will result in increasing temperatures and rising water levels, of course, less precipitation during summers and more and stronger precipitation during winters. And we will have more and heavier storm events, so we need to adapt to that. And for that, a lot of considerations have been given to basically on two topics. The first one is flood defense and civil protection, and the second one is the future maintenance of the waterways and the accessibility of the port. Until now, we are more focusing on strengthening what we have instead of building new ones. But so for actually for flood defense is and civil protection. So flood defense and storm events. And the fight against natural disasters that already has a very long tradition in Hamburg and in whole northern Germany, because it always has been a problem. And so what we first do is you have to strengthen the dikes. And actually along the River Elbe there are quite a lot of dikes. So the city of Hamburg, so we just needed to, we just spent, I think it was 650 million euros for the next decade to strengthening the dikes, because the dikes, they need to be elevated by 20 centimeters till 2020 and by 50 centimeters till the end of the century. So that's quite a big task for the next decade and the next century. And so on the one hand you do strengthening of the infrastructure, but what you do also quite a lot is to implement a risk and communication system to warn and alert the population. HVA is doing this via different channels. So the people in the endangered areas, they get text messages on their mobile phones. So when they have to leave the area, and so we inform via spreadsheets and we have tables, or informing boards all over the port and in the neighboring areas to explain the evacuation routes and to explain the behavior rules in case of an emergency. And so for the accessibility of the port, that's a vital point to every port. And actually for that, we will implement a quite high quality sedimentation management or sedimentation plan. So actually we have, or the sedimentation system or our management plan is based onto two columns. So let me have a look. The sedimentation in Hamburg, it has a very high tidal influence, so I have to explain this a bit. So the high tide brings the sediment from the North Sea and carries them upstream towards the city of Hamburg. And the low tide, takes the sediments back again. But because the high tide current is not as strong, the low tide current is not as strong and as big as the high tide current, a lot of sediments accumulate in the water channels, and accumulate in the water channels. And so the situation is even getting worse, because so from upstream, from the eastern part of Europe, there comes water which takes normally the sediments back in the ocean again, but these upstream water is very much influenced by the precipitation rates in the eastern part of Europe, so in the Czech Republic, for example. And so now there comes the point, so with climate change it is expected that we will have less precipitation also in the eastern part of Europe, especially during summertime. So we will expect to have less water, which flushes all the sediments back into the North Sea again. So yeah, actually already now, the city of Hamburg, we experienced 2 very dry summers. So this one is the last one, and yeah, so the whole dredging activities it was insane. So and in the last year, the HBA needed to spend 80 million euros just on dredging activities, and yeah, it is expected to become much more. So yeah, what HBA is doing now, we firstly we raise awareness for the public, but we implemented sort of a dialogue with all the experts from research institutions and all the experts which are responsible for the management of the River Elbe to implement a qualified sedimentation step management, to be prepared for the future. So so this is like one mitigation measure to gather experience and knowledge, to create this sediment management plan. And on the other side, we develop shallow water basins to give the river back space and sort of to create a sediment trap. So to get this tidal pumping effect a bit less, so that sedimentation rates will be reduced. So that are like the 2 big mitigation measures for the sediment management. Yes. For the Port of Hamburg, the port has committed itself to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions while continuing at the same time to be still a high sophisticated logistic transport center. So the Port of Hamburg is taking part in various action plans together with the City of Hamburg. So there is the Cleaner Action Plan and the Climate Change Action Plan. HBA is engaged in various communities like the World Port Climate Initiative, which aims also at reducing the carbon footprint of ports. So HBA stimulates the port companies to install wind energy power plants and to take part in or to install heat and block heat and power plants. The nautical center is supplied by energy from an ice storage technology system. Actually, that's very cool. So we do a lot with renewable energies. So actually, one of our main goals is to increase the energy efficiency and to install renewable energies in the port. So 2 years ago, HBA, we did a register of emissions for the entire port area, so we know who the biggest polluters are, and so by analyzing all the emitter groups, you can find the right measures to react to that. So actually, in our port, we know that the shipping emissions are one of the biggest polluter groups. So we do a lot of, we develop a lot of measures to to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from the shipping. And for doing that, we push at the moment very hard the development of onshore power supply stations. So with onshore power supply, that works when the ship comes aboard, it gets the electricity externally, and so it can switch off the auxiliary engines. And HBA installed 2 years ago a stationary onshore power supply station at the cruise terminal Altona, so for cruise ships, and we have another installation. It's a so-called LNG power barge. So it's basically a swimming LNG power plant, and so LNG is burned. It creates electricity, and the electricity is then supplied to the cruise ship also at birth. And so at the moment we have actually quite a lot of measures for cruise ships because it's a big topic here in Hamburg. And what we will start next year is a project also with container vessels, because we want to supply also container vessels with external energy when they are at berth, because we know that actually most of the shipping emissions come from ships at berth, actually, because the container ships, they have so long berthing time. And when in the next year we will implement a project which works with power packs. And the power pack actually is like, it's an LNG container which is put on board of the ship, and also then by burning LNG you get energy which is then supplied by the ship, or to the ship. So actually it's very effective. Because in the city of Hamburg, the external energy also comes from renewable energy. The onshore power supply is just a very expensive technology. That's one of the negative points, and because you invest firstly a lot, so it takes a while until sort of get your money back, or until it pays it back. So and there you have to do very sophisticated calculations to offer an adequate price to the shipping companies, because you also want that your electricity you offer is used by the company. So there is, a lot of politics going on. So, but here, like in general, onshore power supply is a technique which is known. It's very much used in the United States. So so it's ready to use it there. That's good. The onshore power supply station, it was built within a year, so actually that went quite quickly. It was just a very political process in advance to get this technology here, and actually we got money from the Federal Ministry of the Environment to develop this technique. So what you can do as a quick fix is, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, the HPA, we just changed our energy contract, sort of, so we get our power is supplied by renewable energy resources, and so HPA could compensate 50% of our own greenhouse gas emissions. So that's actually like a really quick fix, because you just change your contract, your power supply contract. So, but yeah, if you want to take like real measures, so HPA has also a fleet of electric cars. That's easy to implement. And we do a lot of for energy efficient buildings and stuff. So you have to think, quite in the future, or you have to think quite in advance, which is not, because normally, people they act, normally when it's too late already. So, but yeah, you have to take actions early, especially as measures will take a long time, so they are more directed to become effective in the long term. So you have to act now when you have all the advantages and the effort saved in the future. You have to gather experts. So you should work openly and transparent to the public, and I would also communicate all my activities quite a lot, because HPA actually had a lot of bad press because of all the dredging. And okay, why HPA? Why are the water depths not as we want? So so explain what you do and not. And and actually you have to see the big picture, because like some measures might help some parts of your port business, but might influence other parts. So yeah, and actually, I think one of the biggest tasks is still to raise awareness for the for this topic. Within the other authorities in your cities and within the population, because yeah, you have to act now if you want, or it will be too late, or rather it will become very expensive if you have to take measures in the future.